Welcome to Skillcast, the podcast by the London Organisation of Skills Development, where skills are the forefront of all conversations. My name is Nurbanu, and I'll be the host for Season 1. Join me as I dig deep and be a little nosy and find out the story behind the skills our expert guests share with us.
Well, welcome Ritu to the Skillcast, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Dr. Rituu, and I'm a clinical psychologist. I've been serving for 26 years now, cross-sectionally the society where we're trying to help people understand lives better, find their inner connect, and understand how to deal with situations that come across in life, like divorces, sibling rivalries, dealing with traumas like rape or addictions at various levels, parental disorders, PTSD, and likewise. So yeah, broadly it's that.
Have you always been involved in this particular topic, or is it something that you were doing something else in your field before you came to this side?
No, I did my majors in criminal psychology, and that's where we started. So basically my first assignment was to work with a rape case for 22-year-old. So yeah, it's always been like that.
You just fell into it, basically.
I just basically chose it and went ahead with it. Yeah.
What was the most recent case that you've been working on?
I'm currently working with, so broadly there are many clients, but my most recent one is the 16-year-old girl who attempted self-harm. She was found in a bathtub because she had a breakup with her boyfriend who called her a couple of names and fat. So yeah, it didn't go down well. It wasn't the insult that led her to attempt self-harm, but it was just the whole pressure of academics and bullying and lack of validation from the society. So we're currently working with her, trying to make her understand that life is a gift in various formats.
Do you think the family and upbringing is heavily associated with what goes? Because obviously what's happened with that breakup and school life, that's all secondary. Your primary socialization is what happens at home and your family. Do you think it's something do you think someone's upbringing is associated with why someone plays up or why someone would react in a certain way?
I think times have changed a lot. And yes, our family is our first point of contact, our first learning place, and our first place of being. I agree totally with what you've just said. But given my understanding of the way it works right now, there's tremendous amount of peer pressure. And schools seem to have taken, your peers at school seem to have taken a complete dominance over where you're coming from. It suddenly has become a huge need to validate your existence of the color you are, the nose you have, the body shape you hold, the hair length, the color. It is a complete validation. Your mom and dad might think you're stars, but they take it for granted that moms and dads are always going to think that their kids are stars, right? But if it's not coming from the peers, there's a huge gap that we're finding difficult by the day to build up. And social media and peer pressure plays a huge role in that. So dominance of home life has shifted for the youth and adolescents today. And a lot of dependence and reliance has come for authentication from social media and peer pressure.
Do you think social media or peer pressure is more of a culprit? Which one do you think is a bit more, peer pressure or social media?
I think social media, definitely. Because while it has its pros, we've landed up creating an imbalance, and we have cons which we weren't prepared for. So yes, there is a lot of confidence by the platforms that are offered on various social media. There are also segments in social media which distract children and put pressure on them in their naiveness, not able to make them see the difference of what is it that they must choose and which portal they should not attempt at this age.
Obviously, it's really difficult to tell a young person, especially a teenager, like, you can't go on your phone, you can't have Instagram, because all of their peers have Instagram. And
True.
as a parent, if you're telling your child you can't have Instagram, it's like you're constraining them. So is there like a fine balance that you'd suggest in a way that's healthy, that a teenager is not missing out on social media, but whilst maintaining healthy consumption?
So that's a very good question. I think more importantly, it's not just being aware of the social platform that exists, whether it's an Instagram or a Facebook, for the child, for a teenager. I think what's more important for a parent is to draw the legal boundaries that exist, which says that 18 plus, there's a reason that exists, right? So we cannot have a balance because everything's free, unless the companies come down and they take a conscious call. They do have a protocol saying that 18 years and above strictly for various social media platforms. But it is equally easy to distort your date of birth and put a fake profile up, right? For a teenager who's 11, 12, 13, 14. It's not difficult for them to build a profile. So actually, instead of parents and children, what needs to come down from the legislative and the judicial side of the globe is what will make the difference. Because that's where this whole, plethora is served on the platter for them. So the balance is very difficult for a parent in today's time to achieve.
So that really does put a lot of pressure on an individual to kind of educate themselves and just be healthy. But
yeah, and it's unfair. It's
unfair. It's like,
because it's too much of pressure on a child who's finding their own selves at a teenage and adolescence, at the same time dealing with the pressures of social media, the distractions that it brings and the temptations that it offers. And when we're working with them, we're trying to identify what is it that distracts them easily. So as a psychologist, we're not trying to say, no, this is not right. No, this is not good for you. On the contrary, we're trying to understand what is it that they think is good for them in it. And once we walk that journey through their mindset, we're able to show them the other side. In fact, most of the times they realize it themselves, but it takes them time. Initially, what happens is that the child just says, oh, Instagram's so cool, so fun, makeup, dresses, hair extensions, eyelashes. Oh, let's just get into it. But they don't see the far side. They don't have that far side. So we walk that with them, that what is it that you're lacking, that you think you're lacking, is why you want to be on a lip blush or Botox or a eyelash extension, page on Instagram. And when they realize the other side of it, they realize, oh, no, this is not what I was looking for. It actually holds them back. It's a boundary they set for themselves. It takes time. It needs a lot of patience. And it's too much to expect from parents as well. So we fill in that gap. We at least try.
No, that completely makes absolute sense. And I do think the importance of clinical psychologists, and I do endorse the work that you do, because sometimes talking to your own family, it can be difficult, because how can you be open and vulnerable about what's going in your life? There's too much going on. So having an outsider that is a confident, because that is someone that's non-judgmental and gives people that safe space to do so. Do you have your own practice, or are you working?
Yes, I have my own practice. I've got a company called Believe Me, and we focus on, I'm working with various hospitals and schools and universities in Dubai and outside of Dubai. So we're trying to constantly bring the awareness that you can trust us. And we're here. We're the dirty, dark secret keepers, and we're never going to judge you, because we don't believe in judgments. And let's try. We've tried walking your way for 11 years, 40 years, or 60 years. And maybe it didn't work the best way to your liking. So maybe let's try another way. And we walk that journey holding hands and trusting that, let's just take this leap of faith. But obviously there are ways and tools and skills that are involved, which we don't really lay them down on the table for the client.
No, definitely. I think each person's individual as well. Something that might work for me might not work for someone else. And as an expert, as in your field for 21 years, I think you must have a style and art, and you probably have this intuition about what sort of help a person needs, whether it's just talking or it's something a little bit more. Would that be right?
That's right. And sometimes there's children, like I had a client who was a star, went on scholarship to Massachusetts and decided to come down. He just dropped his year and he came back, and he just didn't want to go back to study. His parents were lost. We didn't know what happened. And somebody referred them to me, and eventually it took me 6 weeks to get him to talk. And for those 6 weeks, we would just sit on a beach. We would just sit. What had happened is that the trauma sometimes disconnects our own self, and we forget how to feel. We numb up. It took that child of 19, literally 6 weeks to feel the pain again, be able to relive it, and break down. And then he started talking, and he felt in those 6 weeks that he could rely on me, and that I am not impatient and I'm not losing my nerve, that, oh my God, for these 1.5 hours, we're just sitting, right? So every child is different. Some children just immediately start talking, and they have judgments and they have boundaries because they're scared. They're coming from a place of, being parented, where parents are saying, no, we need to know what's going on with you. But that pressure, leads them to corner themselves further down.
It really does come down to a lot of patience that you have, and being, I love it. Like, you just sat in silence, and until they were willing to, there was no pressure in any way. And that in its own self makes it safe.
Yes, it's a safe space that we offer. We just sat, watched the waves. We sat watching people. But yeah, I've done it with multiple clients. And not just at the beach. There are times when we just have a good dinner and we get back home. And that's what a session is all about. But yeah, it works differently for different people.
What's your favorite kind of technique? I know you mentioned just sitting in silence. being a point seems like a big one for you. Is there any other like treatments or therapies?
There are multiple therapies. See, I'm somebody who's I'm not anti-medications, but I do believe that our human body is magic. It's complete magic. And I think what's important is that we realize that in a world which is dynamically changing towards artificial intelligence, and we're putting down the priorities on our own powers very less. We've just become very convenient. Oh, I don't remember something, let's put an alarm. I don't remember something, let me just remind Alexa to do it. And so the tools and the skills or the therapy that broadly we are using is constantly connecting with your inner self. Mandalas is one of the most favorite aspects that I love to do. And I love my clients using it. Now, mandalas are, geometrical patterns which we use to bring out various formats. People who've never touched a paint or a pencil color in their lives, in their 45, 50, they have made phenomenal mandalas over, 12 weeks or 12 hours. And somewhere that release starts making them clearer about what they don't want in their life, or where they should be not focusing in their life. So that's one of my favorite tools, as you asked. But there are multiple tools and skills that constantly bring us back to our own roots. And the minute we are able to do that, it serves the purpose.
Yeah, no, there's something very divine about the arts, I would say, whether it's music or creative arts. And I just that brings out your inner child, your true self, what you're supposed to be, and purpose. I think that's a word that comes up a lot everywhere.
True, and I get that so much. My own daughter, she's 14, and I think a year and a half back, she was like, what's the purpose? Why are we all doing what we're doing? How's maths ever going to help us? And I was like, oh my goodness me, there she goes. We've got the purpose and lack of it again in my own house. So yeah, purpose is a huge question mark today for everybody.
As obviously being a mom and a psychologist, do you apply some of your skills to your own family, or do you think it's a bit difficult to apply such skills? Because obviously as a mother, you have that you have the innate to just say yes, no, don't do this, do this, do that. But with your clients, of course, you have to take a step back and not be judgmental. Is it? How do you how do you keep that boundary?
I'm a very strong believer in balance, as I said initially, and life is about balance. So you have to personally step up on a daily basis as a mum. Parenting doesn't come with a manual. And while you're in the process of parenting and a psychologist, you have to keep reminding yourself, nobody else does it, that, well, what we do outside, we do inside first. You light the light in your own house before you light it for others. So it's a constant reminder. Yes, there are times when I feel exasperated or frustrated because it's your own child and you have trust in them, but they don't, just like it works for other children. But you have to find another way out. And I objectify myself. Like I move out of my own self as a parent and try and see the situation from outside and find a solution. Takes time, but it happens eventually.
Is conscious parenting something you do?
Yes, I do.
You've been doing it. Is it something new you've been doing, or is it something you've applied for a long time?
No, I've been applying it for almost 16 years now.
Oh, so even before, even from a young age, from the early age. So
yes.
You never really told them what was right or wrong. It was more about them exploring
and understanding the consequences of choices, that every choice would have a conscious result, and we have to understand how it goes. Yes.
And you don't there's no influence of yourself in. So what would you do if there was something, they made a decision and you completely disagreed and you knew they were going to fail in what they're doing?
So it has happened a few times, and what we'll end up doing is we find, it didn't work out. So they don't hear, I knew it won't work out. But we're like, okay, from here, how to rectify this? Let's find a way to make this better from where it is.
I love that. It really shows that you're a team player. You're not on opposite teams. You've made a mistake. I told you not to do it. It's more like, we're a team. That's cool. Let's fix it now. Let's find a way to work.
Let's find a way that will lead to better results.
That's really good. Is it just the one daughter you have? Or?
No, I have a 17-year-old son and a 14-year-old daughter.
Okay, so is your parenting technique different with the two of them? Or
yes, they're both absolutely opposite souls. Total polarities, north and south.
In terms of parenting style, do you apply the same or do you adapt that as well?
I have to consciously remind myself that they're both different. So my approach and aptitude and attitude for both of them on a daily basis is completely different. What works with my son does not work with my daughter. She's, more on the strong, independent side, and my son's the more mature and reflective, introspective side. So I have to find different ways for them to figure out a common way to work in the house together for their studies, academics, responsibilities. Yeah, but the approach is different for both of them.
So how do you keep that balance, making sure you're being fair on both of them then?
So sometimes we learn. Of course, I've made, there have been gaps where I realized that, this did not work. But most of the time, trying to, like I said, one has to have an understanding of what is it that's leading the child to that kind of decision or attraction or temptation or decision, Once you have that understanding about your own child, it becomes a little easier to be able to draw a boundary or show them that what's going to work and find a way out which works. That understanding takes a lot of patience and reflectiveness, I would say. You've got to go within yourself, detach yourself as a mom and see yourself as an adult who can understand that a little 9-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old, your own child, has his own independent set of thoughts, feelings, fears. And once you're able to identify that, you understand they're different and you draw that line between yourself, not for them. It's your own step down and step up on a daily basis.
Of course, you've got all of these boundaries in place and you've obviously got the expertise. What about family? Do you have any families that have quite strong opinions in your parenting style?
So we're a family of 4, my husband and 2 kids. And yes, I do have my opinions and thoughts and approaches in place, so to say. But there's no perfect world. There's no perfect family. There's no perfect marriage. So yeah, We learn on a daily basis. But the beauty is that we're walking together. We're walking in faith and trust and love as a family. So we're all there for each other to make mistakes and to learn from them and hopefully not repeat them. I won't be able to say that, yeah, we haven't faltered or we haven't, had our meltdowns, or we've had our happy moments, we've had a togetherness. In all of these things, what is important is that we're all connected with each other and, more importantly, with our own selves.
Yeah, I think it's that element of forgiveness and you've got that core value of unity and family. Yes. No matter what happens, we're all going to argue, we're all going to have these little conflicts here and there. But the fact that we love each other and we mean the best for each other, the things that we say or do are from our own perspective the best for what we think is best for them, but they obviously not always in alignment with it.
And most importantly, that we're here for each other, no matter what. I think that safe, secure home of, belonging changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Had a really interesting, insightful conversation with you. I've learned so many new skills.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's such a brilliant opportunity. Lovely to have chatted now.